Now in today's video, we're going to run through my team selection ahead of FPL Game Week 12. We might have 3 potential injuries to be dealing with, but thankfully we do have 3 free transfers, and I'm also going to be discussing my chip strategy over the next few weeks. Now, before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we're trying to hit 25,000 subscribers before the end of the season, and it is only possible with your amazing support. As you can see on screen right now is the points total that I did get in Game Week 11. You're going to have to cast your minds back to that one, a real long game week ago. The only reason we got a massive green was mainly down to the great work done by Michael Keane, his mega 15-pointer, Saka's 12-pointer, and Bruno chipping in with a nice cheeky assist as well. As you can see, a very healthy rank gain as well, all the way up to 630,000. We're really starting to build some momentum. Obviously, over the opening few game weeks, it really wasn't going our way. We was like 8.8 million at one point during the season. Now, of course, as you can see, we're starting to pick up some stride, really build a lot of good momentum here. Consecutive green arrows as well, which is what you love to see when, of course, you are an FPL manager, and a fat one like that to, of course, take into this week. However, as you can see with this side, there are a few issues that have currently cropped up over the international break. That, of course, is the injury to Gabriel. We had David Ornstein today suggest that he's going for further scans on this injury. So for me, that probably suggests that Gabriel is going to be a long-term injury and probably going to be a player that most of us are going to be looking to want to take out of our side. Semenyo will come on to talk a little bit more about what this man has been up to. And Enzo, we haven't really had any further update right now, but those are the 3 problem players within our side. So let's go and dive into the team selection and the potential players I might be looking to replace them with, and of course discuss my chip strategy over the next few weeks. Okay, let's not waste any more time then. Let's start off first with the defense. I think most of the defense I'm pretty happy with here. Raya and Senesi and Anderson, they've all got very pickable fixtures this week, to be honest. All of them look pretty decent from a clean sheet perspective as well when we go and look at the betting data from Rob T. So I'm pretty happy with those guys. Senesi and Anderson as well, both absolute DEFCON beasts. So at the minimum, I probably would be expecting 3 points out of them. Even in last game week's 4-0 drubbing of Bournemouth, he still managed to hit defensive contributions and still came away with 2 points. So even when he gets battered, he still manages a way to find points, does Senesi. And he's just one of those guys, like I said, that is just consistently hitting up points. Of course, though, the big dilemma: who is my Gabriel replacement? Who is going to be the player that I am going to look for in terms of the player I want to replace Gabriel with? Now, I still believe you could probably go for Arsenal defenders. There are still a side that have some absolutely fantastic projected clean sheets over the next few weeks. Of course, as well, they've got some absolutely wonderful picks in Jurrien Timber and, of course, in Saliba as well. Both of these guys would definitely be my replacements if I was still planning on sticking with an Arsenal defender. However, I think with us having Raya in goal, we still have some Arsenal coverage, and those other guys, Timber and Saliba, probably don't bring the same kind of points that Gabriel would have brought, making him obviously one of the most essential players within the game. Timber is very much geared towards his XGI. I believe he's at 2.75, which is pretty decent for a defender, not too bad. Currently, I believe the best player in the game for non-penalty XGI, so a pretty good metric to potentially pick up on there. However, he doesn't hit defensive contributions, and I think that is more a repeatable action that, of course, I'm looking to target this season. Saliba's numbers as well, only 12.5% of his starts so far this season as he hit those defensive contributions, but we might see a change, of course, if Gabriel is now out and no longer the aggressor, or, of course, the player that hits those defensive contributions within the side. That role potentially could fall, of course, to Saliba, or, of course, it could fall to Maresca, I believe it is. Is that how he's pronounced? Or Mareski? Something like that. Anyway, he's the other defender that potentially might be the one that could be the guy that picks up those defensive contributions. But with that uncertainty, I'm probably not going to go for another Arsenal defender. Where my mind is at, and the player that I'm going to look to target, and I think a very popular move amongst the FPL community, is going to be looking at Virgil van Dijk. The Liverpool fixtures coming up are exceptional. Some absolutely cracking fixtures in here with some great opportunities to, of course, go and get some clean sheets. On the 11 of fire model, over the next 6 projected game weeks, Liverpool are the second most likely to keep the most clean sheets during that period. Only, of course, behind Arsenal, who we all know for years now have been a very, very good and solid defence. As you can see, a bulk of his points so far this season have come from defensive contributions. 12 defensive contributions so far. 60% of his games, his starts, should I say, have, of course, managed to come away with defensive contributions as well, making him one of the best defenders for this metric as well. His CBIT numbers per 90 as well are very, very good. So I am very confident that Virgil van Dijk will, of course, be able to hit those repeatable defensive contribution actions. I think with the strong Liverpool fixtures coming up as well, he should be a defender that should hit decent clean sheet numbers over the next few weeks for Liverpool. However, they have been really out of form in the past few weeks. Only one Premier League win within their last 6 games just isn't good enough and not what we've really expected to see so far from Liverpool this season, the defending champions. However, I still do believe that Van Dijk is the ideal replacement to, of course, replace the injured Gabriel with, in my personal opinion. Interestingly as well, the next 2 opposition, Nottingham Forest and West Ham United, have conceded the most opportunities, or the most XG, should I say, from headed chances so far this season. So having a towering defender like Virgil van Dijk, for me, makes complete sense and is going to be the player that, if we get confirmed news within the next few hours, that obviously Gabriel is out, he's not going to feature for an extended period of time, then I will move to Virgil van Dijk. I will, of course, though, wait to see what we get from Mikel Arteta, if we get any update from him. I highly doubt it. He will be a manager that will probably swear secrecy all the way up until we get the team sheets on Sunday afternoon. I imagine we're not going to see Gabriel in it. So for me, I'm probably going to just hold out for the press conferences, see if we get an update from Arteta. If we don't get one, then I'm going to make the move. I'm going to go off the information we've had with Ornstein, and I'm going to make the switch to Virgil van Dijk. Like I said, I really like the Liverpool fixtures. He's got a lot going for him in terms of defensive contributions, some great fixtures where, of course, sides are weak against headed opportunities. So this move for me makes complete sense. Now, let's not waste any more time. Let's take a look at my midfield then. And as you can see, a few more problems have arisen here. We have Semenyo and Enzo Fernandez with flags. Unfortunately, we haven't received any update from Maresca regarding Enzo Fernandez's fitness. The big concern I have is just the amount of fixtures that Chelsea do have coming up, and especially some of the opposition that they do have. I think they'll be looking at this Burnley game as a potential game where they might rotate heavily, because in midweek they have Barcelona, then at the weekend they've got Arsenal, then we follow that with another Premier League round, then of course another Premier League game at the weekend. So I think they'll be looking at this and going, this Burnley game against the side that we're expected to win against, this is where we probably rotate some of our players. And with Enzo dealing with this knee issue as well for an extended period of time, this might be a game where over the festive period they go, yeah, you're either going to play reduced minutes, potentially that being a substitution, or you're just not even going to feature at all. And Barcelona and the Arsenal games are going to be the games where we're going to prioritize your use ahead of going for the Burnley game. So that is something that is running through my mind, and I do have a potential replacement lined up for him. The other, of course, flag player within the side is going to be Anton Semenyo. Now, before I filmed this video, he did post on his socials that he is now married. I kind of teased it in yesterday's video. I was like, it was his anniversary with his girlfriend, who he's been with for 5 years. They went out for a nice meal. It was all over his Instagram and stuff like that. Then he has today posted that he's married. He was down on one knee. So for me, that looks like a man who isn't injured. He's just not injured. And there's loads of photos going around of him of the marriage and stuff like that. So I do believe it was probably a planned break for him away from the international side to, of course, go and propose to his long-term girlfriend and get married. This is the sort of stuff now we talk about in FPL. No longer players' performances. What, of course, they are doing with their girlfriend. And it would honestly not surprise me to see this man score at the weekend a goal dedicated to his girlfriend, or should I say now his fiance. It would just be so written, wouldn't it? Of course, as well, there's been a lot of the speculation and the news talking about his big £65 million release clause and where he might potentially be looking to go in January. And I think all of that is just going to kind of accumulate into him just having an absolutely exceptional performance against West Ham. And he is a player that I really wouldn't want to sell sell unless I absolutely had to, because the next three fixtures are really good. He is a guy that can very easily play full 90 minutes in across all of them. And I think that is an important thing to have over this busy festive period, is just guys that are going to play every single week. And Semenyo very much is that man. However, I do have replacements lined up, of course, if I do want to go for it for this game week. So let's take a look at some of those. But before we do that, of course, if you want to head over to my new Discord server, the FPL Cartel, which I have launched with Golden Goal Fantasy Football, feel free to come and check it out. There will be a link in the description. We're currently running our 30-day free trial. You get an exclusive weekly podcast with the two of us, going through our teams, going through your guys' questions, and of course, all the key data ahead of this game week as well. You get access to our exclusive Discord as well. You can ask us as many questions, get your team reviewed by us. I know that is something that a lot of you guys ask me in the comment section. If, of course, you want to get that done, head over, like I said, to the description. The Discord is there, completely free for 30 days for you to come and test it out. There's also some prize mini leagues as well, where of course there are some exceptional prizes monthly and of course seasonally up for grabs as well. So what are we waiting for? Completely free for 30 days. Get yourself in the FPL Cartel. Let's then take a look at some of the replacements that I potentially might be going for. This is going to be my Enzo Fernandez replacement. It is going to be Minter. He has just been exceptional at the start of this season so far for me. 6 goal involvements, very, very good underlying data as well. There's some absolutely stellar fixtures coming up for Brighton. His minutes have been ridiculously secure as well, and I just think he's probably one of the most valuable pickups within the game right now, given the price that he's at, given the talismanic ability he's got for this Brighton side. When you watch their performances, he and probably Danny Welbeck are their two big players, and Brighton have always been a side that have managed to accumulate good underlying data. The problem has always been finding those players that play regular minutes for this side, and I think Danny Welbeck over this busy festive period will probably see more and more reduced minutes, as of course they do look to manage him given his age. However, Minter is a player I do imagine will see very, very good minutes, as he has already done so far this season. No European football for this side as well. So for 6 million to get their best player from an eye test perspective, for me, seems like a really good, valuable pickup over, like I said, the festive period. In terms of the replacement, I would be looking at, if Semenyo is out for an extended period of time, it would be Bryan Mbeumo. Look, the United fixtures are great over the next few weeks. Everton, Palace, West Ham, Wolves, and Bournemouth, of course, before he jets off to AFCON. Again, we get the AFCON transfers as well in game week 16. So it's a very easy kind of situation where we can just get him straight back out of the side with the obviously abundance of transfers we're going to have in game week 16. He is currently the third best player in the league for non-penalty XGI, which is definitely something I was not expecting to say this season. I was expecting kind of, a little bit of a drop off in terms of Brian numbers, moving to a new club, no penalties. But however, the data is still suggesting he's an absolutely fantastic pick. Some absolutely cracking fixtures as well in Everton, West Ham, and Wolves. And interestingly, the Crystal Palace game does fall after they have just faced off in the Europa Conference League. Then, of course, game week 14 is a midweek round. So a hell of a lot of fixtures coming up for Palace during that busy festive run. And maybe that is where Manchester United, of course, potentially could jump them. And he is a player as well that is really highly owned and could do some serious damage to me over the next few weeks, of course, if I do want to make that move. But with Semenyo now kind of, prancing around, getting married, I am starting to think, maybe is it worth me making this move? Is it worth me using all three of my transfers? But then the other thought process that is running through my mind is the fact that we do then get topped up in game week 16 up to 5. And I would be a fool not to, of course, fully utilize that. So maybe over the next few weeks, I do take a few more gambles. I do take a few more punts. And I think Bryan Mbeumo would be a very, very good example of me making a really smart move for me and my side. The short-term fixtures for United over the next few weeks are great. There's some cracking fixtures. He's a great player for non-penalty underlying XGI as well. And I really, really do like them. I really, really do like United. And I like Mbeumo and I like Bruno Fernandes at the moment. They're two guys that I would absolutely love and adore to have in my side. And maybe going for that double United pivot in midfield could be a potential kind of unearthed gem to potentially pick up some points as well. But it would, of course, require Semenyo to be injured. And I think now with that marriage proposal thing, probably not going to be the case. It was more likely that it was a marriage proposal rather than an injury. Okay, let's complete my lineup then. We've got Mateta and Erling Haaland. As you can see, I have given the armband to Erling Haaland, so we'll talk about him in a second. However, Mateta and Crystal Palace, I think, are probably being a little bit hard done by on the Rob T data for this week. As you can see here, 1.5 projected goals for Crystal Palace. That feels extremely low for a Wolves side that currently are one of the only sides within the top six divisions of English football to not have a win so far this season, and only 1.52. Interestingly, in their past 5 meetings, Crystal Palace have scored 15 goals. That works out at an average of 3 goals per game against Wolves as well. Wolves are also, since the 21-22 season, have conceded the most penalty goals within the league. They haven't actually given away a penalty so far this season, and I do feel it is probably about time that they do. So I'm imagining Crystal Palace are probably going to walk away in this game with a penalty, with a Jean-Philippe Mateta goal, and I'm really, really shocked that the betting data is so low for those projected goals. We can also see some pretty decent numbers for Bournemouth up against West Ham this week, higher than Manchester United, if of course we were to make that move for Brian Mbeumo. So again, if Semenyo is fully fit and available, does this feel like the most sensible move, or does this feel like the ideal and most perfect time to, of course, move away from Semenyo with better projected goals? Of course, as well, off the back of, I imagine, a little bit of a pressure release of maybe keeping the marriage a little bit kind of hidden from his partner for a few weeks as well. All the stuff that's going around with his 65 million release clause as well. Maybe that is going to be kind of, playing on his mind, the psychological factors of that, and potentially could be a player that could really go big to celebrate his obviously new marriage as well. Interestingly, we're seeing City not with great numbers, 1.68, right? Haaland's only ever scored 1 goal against Newcastle United, but the stat that has really pushed me towards Erling Haaland for captaincy this game week is a stat about expected goals for size, right? The highest ever for one player, kind of equivalent to a team, is Lewandowski back in the 21-22 season, or maybe the 2019-20. I can't remember which exact season it was, but pretty much he accumulated 35% of Bayern Munich's expected goals that season. That is the highest on record, right? So far, 60% of Manchester City's expected goals have just come from Haaland. He is very much a one-man team. Everything goes through him. All the underlying data is going through him. All the goals are going through him. And I just don't think you have another team in the league where you can clearly say that there is one player carrying the side like Haaland is for Manchester City right now. I know the projected goals are a little bit lower. Newcastle as well have a fantastic home record. They've actually got one of the best ones over the past 3 seasons within the Premier League as well. I think they've been 3rd for the past 2 seasons for home goals conceded as well. So there is a lot going against Haaland, but there's also a lot going for him. Just because if City are going to score, he's definitely going to have a part of it. I'm looking at other captaincy options within my side as well. Sorry. And I do believe the other option is maybe looking at an Arsenal player, maybe a Bukayo Saka, but I think with it being a derby, I'm probably going to not go with that one. I don't have the access to Mohamed Salah unless I was to free hit, so that probably rules him out. The only other fixture I would maybe look at is Bruno Fernandes up against Manchester United. He's averaged 4.5 points per start so far this season, which isn't ideal compared to, of course, Erling Haaland, but there's not been a 0-0 between these two sides since 2004 within the Premier League. There's been a lot of goals for Manchester United as well. I believe Everton are now 8 games in this meeting without a clean sheet as well. I think United are just finding their feet as well in terms of goal scoring this season, and Bruno Fernandes does have multiple routes to points. However, I still, for me personally, I'm probably going to sit with Erling Haaland as our captain. In terms of the moves then that I'm planning on making, I think Gabriel, it is looking heavily likely that he is going to be out for this game week. So I'm going to make that move to Virgil van Dijk. Semenyo, I'm probably a little bit hesitant on it, especially if it is just him out for his marriage. He's going to probably be, back for game week 12. I probably will keep him in place. Enzo, if he's obviously Maresca said that there's going to be some rotation, then of course we will look at other alternative options. We could go for Minter within that spot. We might potentially drop him down and upgrade Krupi to Thiago, a player that I really like the look of, given the fact that Brentford get so many penalty goals across each season, and given the fact that he's been an absolute machine so far this year with 8 goals, that could be another route that maybe we do look to go for. In terms of longer term with this side, I probably would say the free hit maybe will be after game week 16 now. And the triple captaincy, I am identifying next week with Erling Haaland up against Leeds United. It just feels like an absolutely terrific fixture to, of course, be looking to target for that game week. And that is where I'm going to go with that one. That is going to conclude today's team selection video. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team, get yourself over to the FPL Cartel Discord, completely free for 30 days. And the best of luck in FPL Game Week 12.